Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Football First as we take a look at the 8 nations that have been taking part in the OFC Nations Cup. Now, the match that has just ended between 2012 runners-up, in fact, two-time runners-up, New Caledonia and Samoa, has just ended with that 90th minute penalty, which saw New Caledonia take a 7-0 victory over Samoa. And this afternoon's match, in fact, between Papua New Guinea and Tahiti ended with a 2-2 draw. And for those of you out there that are trying to do the mathematics between the 4 teams that are in Group A, well, all I can say is that it places a lot of pressure on the home side, Papua New Guinea. In fact, speaking of the home side, PNG, let's just take a look at what happened this afternoon in their match against Tahiti. In fact, I was there. It's one of the reasons I've lost my voice. And for that particular match, what happened was that Papua New Guinea had taken a 2-0 lead midway through the second half before succumbing to a 2-2 draw with the Tahitians fighting back. Ominous signs early for the home side. PNG placed Tahiti under a lot of pressure, although it was Tahiti that did take the first shot on goal. And while Papua New Guinea had myriad chances to score, it wasn't until on the stroke of half-time that PNG vice-captain Raymond Gonemba slotted home the opening goal for Papua New Guinea. I can tell you there was a lot of celebration by the crowd that turned up in numbers to watch Papua New Guinea play. Although in the second half, Tahiti did have some form of fight back, but Papua New Guinea again did push forward. And as you can see, there were a lot of nasty challenges that were going on. In fact, that ended up with Tahiti's captain having a red card. Alwyn Comalong came close. David Muta was also the first player to be placed on probation, so to speak, before Raymond Gonemba in the 64th minute doubled Papua New Guinea's lead. I can tell you that was just absolutely fantastic for the home side. However, Tahiti did have their own fight back, while Papua New Guinea kept on peppering the goal. Towards the end, with only 15 minutes remaining, the equalizer for the defending OFC Nations Cup champions, Tahiti, saw them take a 2-2 scoreline right towards the end. In fact, Raymond Gonemba had thought that he'd scored his hat-trick and PNG's third. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be, and the match ended for the home side with that 2-2 draw, and that now sees Papua New Guinea on just 2 points. Why? Because it's 1 point for a draw, 3 points for a win. Speaking of draws, the first match that PNG played was on Sunday, the 29th of May, and that was against the runners-up who beat Samoa by 7-0 just now, New Caledonia. And speaking of that match, a lot of people had said that would have proved to be a very difficult test for Papua New Guinea. However, on that glorious Sunday afternoon, that match started at 4 p.m., it was Papua New Guinea that opened the scoring, just like they did earlier on this afternoon. Let's just take a look at some of the highlights of that particular match. And what happened was prior to that, or actually after that match, head coach Flemin Siritslev had stated that while he was happy with the scoreline, he wasn't too happy with the performances of the national team. And also on the same venue, this time it was Tommy Sammy, just a few minutes before the half-time break, giving Papua New Guinea that 1-0 lead, although later on throughout the match, Tommy Sammy did unfortunately receive a red card for a second bookable offense. New Caledonia, however, did prove a lot more dangerous. At one stage, Papua New Guinea was struggling to find any form of leeway into the match, although we did take a number of opportunities on goal. And this one here was an incredible chance for us to double the lead. Well, actually, that's a replay. Apologies to the rest of the nation, but soon after that, Tommy Sammy, as I mentioned, did receive his red card, which left Papua New Guinea down to 10 men only, and that placed us under a huge amount of pressure going on. In fact, here's a look at the penalty that ended up in Tommy Sammy receiving his red card. It did appear innocuous, however, he misses out unless Papua New Guinea can make it to the semi-finals of the Nations Cup, and that's going to depend on a lot of, to an extent, the scores from their final matches, which will occur on Sunday the 5th of June when they take on Samoa, while New Caledonia themselves will be facing off against Tahiti in a francophone derby, so to speak. Papua New Guinea, this one here was a nasty moment. However, it does appear as if the gods of football did smile on the home nation, as New Caledonia missed that chance for them to take a 2-1 victory, the match ending in a 1-all draw for the home side. Now, as I stated earlier, mathematically as it stands, New Caledonia are at the top of Group A after that massive 7-0 victory. Tahiti in second place, Papua New Guinea in third on just 2 points. And what should really need to happen now is that over the weekend, PNG has to win by a big margin, and also either Tahiti or New Caledonia have to lose their matches in order for us to qualify for the semi-finals. Speaking of which, coming up after the break, we'll take a look at the performances of all the other matches from Group B, which has Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, and of course, hot favorites, New Zealand. See you. Back to football first. Now, the OFC Nations Cup did open on the Saturday, the 28th of May, and that day kick-started off at 4 p.m. with hot favorites New Zealand facing off against Melanesian contenders Fiji. Without further ado, let's just take a look at the day one highlights of the OFC Nations Cup. Tournament favourites New Zealand defeated Group B rivals Fiji to get their 2016 OFC Nations Cup campaign off to the best possible start. The All Whites went into their opening match against Fiji as hot favourites, and it took them just 16 minutes to take the lead through Themistocles Demopoulos. The opening goal coming as a result of some good lead-up play by New Zealand captain Chris Wood, who forced a reflex save from Fiji's goalkeeper Simeone Taminasau before Demopoulos tapped in the rebound.
Chris Wood, here's a chance! Good save by Taminasau! Oh, and it's ended up in the back of the net. New Zealand in front, Demopoulos.
Led by Fiji captain Roy Krishna, the Fijians tried to get back into the game, but really tested All Whites keeper Stefan Marevanic. In the 41st minute, New Zealand doubled their advantage, courtesy of veteran striker Rory Fallon, who pounced on another close-range rebound to make it 2-0.
For Fallon, it's deflected into the back of the net. New Zealand 2-0 up.
Fiji did manage to pull a goal back before the break, following a foul on Sitareki Hughes inside the penalty box. Captain Roy Krishna stepped up to convert from the spot to end the first half at 2-1.
Looking away, and it's in the back of the net. Krishna has pulled one back for Fiji.
New Zealand looked to control possession and territory in the second half, and their patience played dividends in the 61st minute when they were awarded a penalty for a handball. Wood restored the All Whites 2-goal cushion with a low shot that snuck past a dive-in to Taminasau.
And it's in the back of the net.
In the second match on the opening day, the Solomon Islands had to withstand an early onslaught by Vanuatu, who seemed to be in total control in the opening 15 minutes. Pressing high up the field, Vanuatu striker Kensi Tangis looked particularly dangerous, causing plenty of problems to the Solomon defenders with his physical presence and movement. However, for all their early dominance, Vanuatu had nothing to show for, and they were made to pay in the 19th minute, when the Bonitos took the lead courtesy of Jerry Donga.
It through for Dowdell, who lifts it over the keeper and has scored a wonderful goal.
The goal seemed to have settled the nerves of Solomon players, who began to control possession and territory to hold on to their lead going into the break. In the final 20 minutes, Vanuatu tried to press forward, searching for an equalizer, but he couldn't break down the Solomon's defense.
And the delight among their supporters here.
Now, after day two of action, after day one of action, it was New Zealand who easily topped the table in Group B, while for Group A, it was still Tahiti on top after their own victory, and that had to push onwards from the performances earlier. Now let's take a look at the day two action from the OFC Nations Cup.
Tahiti kicked off their title defense with a comfortable 4-0 win over Samoa. It was a one-sided affair from the outset as Tahiti raced to a 2-goal lead inside the open in 5 minutes, courtesy of a brace by Tainui Tehau.
It's a lovely header, and it's 2-0.
The Tahitians made it 3-0 in the 15th minute when Stevie Chong Hui rifled his shot into the top right corner from inside the box.
From the team in all red, and a chance. Oh, what a strike!
Alvin Tehau joined the party in the 36th minute with a cool finish off a slick pass from the lively Tainui Tehau.
Nice lay back, and Alvin Tehau with a nice finish to go with it.
Tahiti coach Ludovic Gronyard made a double substitution at half-time as all intensity went out of the game. The French Polynesians maintained a total control in the second half, but they took their foot off the pedal. Despite creating a number of opportunities to score, they were unable to add to the first half tally as Samoa fought hard to keep the score respectable.
Remind them that look boys, we've won 3 points.
And day one ended with a lot of goals on both sides in Pool A and Pool B. On day number 3, and this was a match that really impressed me, and that was between Melanesian rivals Fiji and the Solomon Islands. It was, to me, one of the most exciting and end-to-end contests that I've seen so far over the past few days of the OFC Nations Cup. And let's just take a look at day number 3.
New Zealand stamped their authority on Group B by brushing aside Vanuatu 5-0.
And a chance, he's put it in the back of the net for number 5.
While Fiji kept their OFC Nations Cup hopes alive with a hard-fought 1-0 win over the Solomon Islands on match day 3 of the competition.
Krishna, and he scores easily. Solomon Islands in big trouble. Fiji 1 goal to the good.
Following their comprehensive win, the All Whites are virtually guaranteed top spot in their group, while Vanuatu's dream of progressing even through to the next stage of World Cup qualifying took a major dent.
New Zealand have got another 3 points.
Anthony Hudson's men were at their clinical best in the first half against their Melanesian rivals, scoring 5 times before the break. Skipper Chris Wood started the ball rolling with 2 quick goals before Michael McGlinchey made it 3-0 inside 10 minutes.
This free kick, McGlinchey takes it. Oh, and that's a fine goal.
Wood left the field with an injury early on in the piece, passing the captain's armband to his veteran strike partner, Rory Fallon, who wasted no time in putting the result beyond any doubt with the All Whites 4th in the 19th minute.
He's going to need help perhaps, or not. Well, he won't need anybody.
Wood's replacement Costa Barbarouses put the icing on the cake for New Zealand with a smart finish at the stroke of half-time.
Now, I have to be honest, you can't really see it there on television right now, but the New Zealand national football team, the All Whites, are physically, mentally very, very strong. In fact, when I was there on the sidelines watching them, a lot of the players are extremely tall, extremely fit, extremely fast, and extremely big. And that no doubt would place a lot of the other smaller Pacific nations under a lot of pressure, especially leading up towards the semi-finals. Tonight, however, we cap this particular bit of the OFC Nations Cup by just taking a look back at the highlights of tonight's match, day number 4, and that was between New Caledonia and Samoa.
Well, it was 4-0 at half-time, and again, the second half was more of the same. It was New Caledonia pressing, looking for more goals, and the goals started to flow. Jean-Brice Wadriako here, great work from Cedric Sanso, ball off the post, and Wadriako just flicking that one in with the outside of his left foot. Veteran Kai worked hard all night. Nothing really dropped for him though. Withdrawn.
Now, we wish all the teams that are taking part in the OFC Nations Cup all the best as they head into the final round of matches this weekend. That will be day 5 and day number 6. And following that will, of course, be the semi-finals. Again, as mentioned earlier, if Papua New Guinea is able to have a massive win, and depending on the final score between Tahiti and New Caledonia, we still mathematically do have a chance of qualifying to the semi-finals. Coming up after the break, we'll shift away from the OFC Nations Cup and have a chat with Lisa Cole, the head coach for the PNG Under-20 Women's World Cup side for Papua New Guinea. See you soon. Welcome back to Football First. Now, moving away from the senior men's national team, and apologies, last week we had the match, the first international match between the PNG Under-20 Women's National Football Team as they took on the world's best team. These were the Under-19 World Championship winners, Japan. And against all odds, Papua New Guinea did have some form of fight. However, that match ended with a 10-0 scoreline in favor of the Under-20 World Champions, Japan. Without further ado, let's just take a look at Japan versus Papua New Guinea.
The Sadrangai Stadium was filled with chanting and singing from the spectators that turned out to witness the first ever international friendly against Japan and PNG. Japan reminded PNG why they are a force in global football when it took them just minutes to get on the scoreboard through striker Juri Kawano with a swift strike past goalkeeper Lavina Hola of PNG. Kawano belted 2 more goals for a hat-trick within 15 minutes. It was a one-sided affair as the already exhausted PNG girls tried to control a lot of mishandling while trying to break through the fast and tricky opponent's defense line. The young Nadeshiko added another 3 goals to seal a 6-0 lead over PNG at halftime. PNG, realizing the mistake in the first half, made little advance into the opponent's territory but kept falling short on target. In the dying stages of the game, PNG striker Ramona Padio had the crowd momentarily on their feet with a long-range effort that sent Japan's Mamiko Matsumoto in full stretch to nudge the ball out. However, Japan maintained their class in the second half with another 4 goals, the last coming from a penalty to beat host PNG Under-20 team 10-0 at a full-time whistle.
Now, I can honestly say that there were a lot of Papua New Guineans very, very disappointed with that 10-0 scoreline. And I was actually very fortunate to go and have a chat with Lisa Cole, the PNG Under-20 Women's World Cup coach, just prior to her departure. And she also spoke about, well, one of the things that she spoke about was reality versus expectation, considering the fact that Japan has at least 1,000 women in which to select their squads from. However, for Papua New Guinea, we have a much smaller pool in which to select talent from. But in any case, she has said that Papua New Guinea will be looking to improve, and here's what she had to say prior to their match against the United States of America.
People need to be realistic about where we are. So 2 years ago, that team, that age group of girls in Japan won a world championship. They won the World Cup. So 2 years ago, and then 4 years ago, they were competing in a U15 World Cup. Some of my players got their first international cap against Japan. So the number of games this group has played, those things like that, we're playing catch up. So to say in a year we're going to beat Japan, I think that's a little unrealistic. But is Papua New Guinea able to produce teams that compete on the world stage? I think the answer is yes. But it's consistent programming, providing them with experiences that prepare them for the matches, like you've saw Japan and the U.S. doing. Those things happen, and I think you'll see Papua New Guinea competing with New Zealand for the right to play in the World Cup.
Now, Lisa Cole herself has admitted that the task is still extremely difficult. Difficult I think would be the proper term to use, considering that we will be taking on 15 of the world's best players. And to an extent, the Americans, she had said, would provide a different challenge to the more technical Japanese side. For the Americans, she said she wanted Papua New Guinea to be tested by physicality, and they were. And unfortunately, that particular match, PNG versus the United States of America, also ended in a demoralizing 10-0 scoreline. And here are highlights of that particular match as well.
It took the United States only 10 minutes to score. And 2 minutes doubled their lead through Ashley Sanchez, who scored only a minute later for the U.S. to lead by 3-0. Papua New Guinea did manage to hold off further American attacks, and by the end of the first half, the scores remained unchanged. The second half, however, saw a deterioration in PNG's back four, despite a more defensive formation with strikers Nicole Ageva and Ramona Padillo both dropping down into the midfield, leaving no options up front for the red, black and gold. 54 minutes in, and Kelsey Hedge quadrupled the U.S. lead. And by the end of the match, Papua New Guinea had conceded the same amount of goals as they had against Japan, a dismal 10-0 demolition.
Now, Lisa Cole did make mention about the PNG Under-20 women's goalkeeper. I think her name's Lavinia Holla, that she is in fact not a goalkeeper, but was the best option that they had. And I have to honestly say that one of the concepts that Lisa Cole is trying to push for is for more women's football here in the country that allows for a larger base of players to be selected from, not just for this year's Under-20 World Cup, but for also other campaigns that will come about over the course of the next generation or so. In any case, we do wish the Under-20 women's squad all the best. In a couple of weeks' time, they'll be traveling over to the United States for a 3-week camp, and hopefully gain a lot more exposure and come back with a lot more experience. Now, that's about it in terms of the domestic scene here in Papua New Guinea. Coming up after the break, Real Madrid and Marco Venditti. This one is for you. They need a fluorescent pink suit. Welcome back to Football First. Now, like I mentioned prior to the break, this one's a special one for Marco Venditti, wherever you are tonight. La Undécima. Real Madrid have taken their 11th UCL title, defeating Atletico Madrid, and it started off with a 1-1 draw and then descended into a penalty shootout. And Cristiano Ronaldo, prior to the match, had stated that he had a vision that he would be scoring the winning penalty against Atletico, and it's in Spanish. Well, let's take a look at the highlights of that memorable night in Milan.
El mejor lanzamiento, el que tapó Savic cuando parecía que el balón se colaba. También estuvo maravilloso Black. Responde Juanfran, segundo palo para adentro.
Just succumbing to tears, and here it is, Cristiano Ronaldo blasting home the final penalty that saw them take their memorable 11th title. And incidentally, as a result of that, their own coach, Zinedine Zidane, becomes the first player assistant coach and manager to win the European Champions League. In a couple of years' time, when I get bored, I'll probably take my own team and go to Europe. Speaking of coaches, finally to wrap things up, I think I made mention of this last week, but Jose Mourinho has been appointed as the new coach for Manchester United. And let's just hope that the Red Devils can revive their season, because I'm already getting depressed and might even switch allegiances and join, believe it or not, Manchester City. In any case, I probably won't, but wherever you are here in Papua New Guinea, throughout the Pacific, and in this universe that we exist in, good night, have a great weekend, and we will see you next week on Football First. Bye.